Hi, everyone. I'm Yael Tamar, the CEO and co-founder at Solid Block. And today I'm going to cover a few use cases in the world of real estate NFTs. So let's talk about how NFTs redefine digital ownership within the realm of real estate and how they impact the industry and how they will help the industry grow. So what are NFTs within the context of real estate, right? And why is that interesting to, number one, entrepreneurs and technologists, number two, investors, number three, gamers, number four, entertainment industry, number five, events industry, and many other industries within tech and outside tech, right? Hospitality and brands, how can they use NFTs in real estate? So we know that NFTs, non-fungible tokens, are really the backbone of the digital economy, right? They redefine ownership, whatever asset may be the underlying asset, right? So if the asset is a collectible, then you can actually sell the rights to this asset online via NFTs, right? And the new owner can resell them, which is really, if you think about it, revolutionary, right? Up until now, of course, there was eBay, there were different websites where artists could sell their creation, or even collectors could sell their stuff, right? But in most of these use cases, before NFTs, the owners or the collectors would have to go to the post office and mail their creations, right? To be able to prove ownership via a code was revolutionary in itself, and then be able to transfer it to someone else in seconds without going to the post office has of course infinite potential within many industries, right? So let's talk about real estate. Let's talk about the real real estate, right? Homes, buildings, hotels, right? Those properties today are sold or invested in via traditional methodologies, right? You buy a house, then you basically walk yourself over to the government office, or you use intermediaries to facilitate a record keeping, right? And in the use case of investment, you use, the company that sells you a financial instrument that is really backed by a property, right? That company will record your investment in some sort of an internal database, right? It's all about the record keeping. Now, in come NFTs, and number one, they can replace intermediaries, right? They can make these databases and records available to everyone, and yet conceal sensitive information, right? There's a way, a blockchain provides a way to do two things at once that were seemingly impossible. Number one, anonymize information and provide permission to access to different parties that should have access to that information, right? And yet make it available to everyone. And that's blockchain, right? So NFTs allow us to prove ownership in a quite streamlined way, right? Now, there's two types of ownership that we really talk about in the context of NFTs in real estate. Number one is permanent ownership, right? So this would be a purchase of a home, right? Or this would be investment, which is also a permanent ownership of a fraction of property until you sell it. So in that context, NFTs, number one, can be used as a proof of ownership, right? Here's the code. Here's a piece of code that shows that this specific asset, this specific parcel of land belongs to me, or belongs to this wallet that belongs to me, right? And number two, this code inherently enables transactions, right? For that, we use a different piece of code that will transfer, the original piece of code, the ownership NFT, will transfer it from one wallet to the other, right? And all these transfers, of course, are recorded. All the transactions are recorded. And if there's any compliance involved in this transfer, like taxes or KYC, AML, things like that, all of that could be coded in those smart contracts, right? That's the beauty of the NFTs. Streamlines everything, makes everything cheaper and easier, right? And then there's a second use case for temporary right to use. Now, if the permanent ownership could be considered either, just ownership of a house where you use NFTs for a proof of ownership, like I said, in transactions where technically you're just a homeowner, right? And you use technology to prove it. Now, when you buy a piece of property for investment purposes, it's usually considered as security. So totally different rules apply. When we talk about a temporary right to use, it really is a lease, right? Or a timeshare. And that use case is generally not a security. This use case is generally, your traditional kind of vacation purchase or, hospitality use. And that opens a host of opportunities because really you can buy and sell these packages on NFT marketplaces. And there's a totally different subset of compliance rules applied. And the final thing I want to mention is the real estate in the metaverse or within games, right? In-game real estate. And I call it user-owned platform. Well, maybe a few people call it user-owned platform. I literally Googled it right now and I'm like, I wasn't the one who invented that, right? In any case, why is that significant? Well, because nowadays we can sell pieces of metaverses via NFTs, right? You can buy them as well. And so Metaverse is really a platform that's owned by the users. And when games or events or other things happen on this infrastructure, on these platforms, the owners, the users, ultimately benefit and make money. And that's a switch in mindset or an industry that is very much welcome by many users on current social media platforms. So let's run quickly through these use cases. Solving timeshare. Traditionally, timeshare industry has not succeeded to achieve its goals, and generally hospitality industry doesn't love it because many of the users don't love it. They're frequently stuck with packages they don't want, even though there are different marketplaces where they can swap them. It's a very difficult process, and buying these timeshares is very similar to buying real estate, right? It's actually quite cumbersome. Now, we could use blockchain and NFTs. Blockchain real estate platforms like Solidblock have been solving these problems by applying blockchain to illiquid real estate investments, right? We just basically transform these investments or these products into digital products on the blockchain, which you can buy much more easily, and you can transfer and sell like you do many other digital assets, right? So hospitality NFT is technically a utility NFT, which is an upcoming industry that's touted as kind of the most interesting subset of NFTs out there. And basically any hospitality or hotel can pre-sell the use of the said hospitality asset, define certain rules, sell it at a lower price, and thus increase occupancy ahead of time. Not worry about cancellations, because instead of canceling, users will just sell their packages, right? So you can add loyalty, you can add benefits, you can add metaverse, right? You can include the option to even buy a piece of the property, which is in the context of digital securities, can be sold as security tokens, right? At a discount. So in that situation, the users will see their value of these security tokens increase over time, right? They technically could also see the value of the NFTs increase over time, right? If you buy a package in advance, of course, it's going to be cheaper than right before Christmas time or right before Columbus Day weekend. NFT token holder benefits, of course, include buy first, think later, no cancellation for hotels. Did you know that you're actually overpaying for hotels, because hotels have to increase the cancellation price, include the cancellation price in your price, right? Membership level access. If we think about the technology, how easy it is to include rewards for VIPs, for example. So every time you kind of build something new, you can easily stack it on top of, a list of benefits that you include in the NFTs. You can create bundles, because this is just code. Think about it. This is just code. You don't have to change a bunch of papers and, a bunch of terms and conditions and this and that. You just basically stack code on top of each other, right? And finally, and we mentioned already in Metaverse a few times, but imagine you're one of the first hotels on Instagram. What would that do to your brand? So you can be one of the first hotels in the Metaverse. Private party VIP passes as an example, right? You can buy the NFT to attend a party. It's very easy to verify that you actually bought this NFT, you bought this VIP pass. It's just a piece of code, right? So basically the Metaverse code will check that you bought a very specific NFT that fits, like a key to a lock, right? So a lot of assets have been trying to create these mirrors in the Metaverse to increase brand presence, to provide their users, patrons, VIPs with kind of a place and a space that you can access with a membership, right? So, for example, a lot of hotels have parties, and you can actually now create a few platforms created experiences that can be enjoyed from afar with the Metaverse, right? Of course, the social aspect of it, and you want to see what you're buying ahead of time, right? So Solid Block created NFT states, and we issued a product called Nomo Soho NFTs. This is a hotel in New York, which sold hotel rooms on OpenSea. Users were able to redeem their NFTs and order hotel rooms, right? This, again, you're selling a piece of code that you can then use to buy things on your website, right? Such as hotel rooms. You can also gift these tokens to VIPs. You can bundle them and so on and so forth, right? There's so many things you can do once the ownership is digital, right? Now, we don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, but there's so many things that are kind of still unexplored within the realm of NFTs, right? So compliance, for example, right? If you want to send something to someone's wallet, you want to make sure that that wallet actually has the right to receive the tokens. So KYC, and know your customer, anti-money laundering, and stuff like that. There are now third-party services that will perform these checks, and as a result, will create a unique token, non-fungible token, to put in that wallet, which kind of in the user's wallet, right? Signifying that they passed the test, right? It's similar, it works similar to like a soul-bound token, where the token stays in that wallet for a while. It will self-destruct after it expires, when you have to go back and get rechecked, right? So that's kind of cool, right? Of course, there's security tokens. They represent the stake in the asset, and those usually are quite fungible, like shares. Now, of course, you can collateralize an asset, and that again is usually a security, right? So like a lien on the property, you can stick an asset in a wallet and lock it up, and then the user needs to pay back the interest, or the wallet will never unlock their asset. Quite simple. By the way, you can do that for leases as well, right? As an owner of a property, you can lock someone's deposit in the wallet, and then when they leave the asset, they need to basically comply with various rules that they need to do in order to get their deposit back, right? So smart contracts for data sharing, right? NFTs provide someone access to specific data, right? When events happen at hotels, for example, right? Or pricing in a certain area. Transactional history, supply chain, reports, right? Investor reports, shareholder reports, voting rights even, right? Voting rights for investors in the property. IP associated with certain digital properties, right? I just put some standards here for ERC, which is Ethereum, but we can, NFTs can be built on many different platforms. I mentioned the supply chain, NFTs used in the supply chain. So in the hotel, of course, there's so much, there's deliveries, right? You need to know when food was ordered or when it has arrived, if something happened. So a lot of that can be used in hospitality. Personal data, right? Personal data is a sensitive subject, and especially if the hotel wants to use it to promote, right? Different creators staying on the premise of the hotel. Access management, very simple. If you're living next to a hotel and you want to use the gym, buy an NFT, right? And use that for access. Dividends and distribution, that's a big one, right? If you can basically trade the ownership of hotels or use of hotels, right? And let's say as a member, you may be eligible for a dividend. How can they find you and actually send you those dividends? Well, very simple. You have the ownership NFT in your wallet, so they know where to send your money. You don't have to constantly go and update your payment information everywhere, which is a drag. So there are many others, but we're going to stop here today. Contact me at Yael Tamar on Twitter, or find me on LinkedIn, or anywhere. I am literally all over the internet and the metaverse. Just find me. So thank you very much, and hope to see you all in person one day. Bye.